All right, let's talk vaccine, John. We've heard a lot of people talk numbers for vaccine from 12 months to 3 years with testing. One thing I think was interesting is that the SARS virus of, I don't know, 10 years ago or whenever that was, there was never a vaccine made for that. I've also heard talk about how big pharma, there's no money in vaccines, which is why they don't bother doing them because it's kind of a one-shot deal. What of this is true and what is not true? Also, we've heard about people removing liability from the big pharma so they'll develop a vaccine, which part of me thinks that's a good idea so they'll bother, and then other people get mad and say, why are you doing that for those companies? What do you see there?
Yeah, I mean, the original SARS actually there was two. There was the 2002, 2003 outbreak of SARS-1 as we now call it. And then there was the MERS, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, which was, I think, 2011. That was
11, yeah.
But they were both contained by these social isolation spreads. So it looks to me, what had to happen there was people saw that this was curtailed and that the need for the vaccine was reduced. So for example, SARS-1 doesn't exist in the world now. There is no SARS-1 in the human population. It was eradicated by these social measures because we removed the ability of it to infect people. So that is no longer a problem. So the motivation to develop a vaccine is not there. I think it's fair to say the motivation, financially at least, to develop a vaccine for the COVID-19 is there. I think anyone who gets a vaccine is probably going to sell a few of them as long as it's effective. Now, what's happening is the virus has got different proteins on it, so you can actually develop vaccines to different parts of the virus, because what you're doing with a vaccine basically is you are developing an antigen. That is something that your immune system will recognize as being foreign, that you will make antibodies to. But the antibodies will actually act against the active form of the infection, act against the virus, should you be exposed to the virus. So my understanding here is there's about 20 teams working around the world. And I know there's a few in the States. I know there's one in my country. People are working on different vaccines. And this is good that we're working on a variety of vaccines because it's probable that quite a lot of them won't be that effective. So developing a vaccine, inventing a vaccine is not hard, particularly for people that specialize in this. But when you've got a vaccine, you've got a vaccine, an antigen analog of the virus, but you've no idea of anything about it. So it's got to go through the whole testing procedure first of all. So it needs to be tested on animals. Then it needs to be tested in healthy human volunteers. That's called stage 1 clinical trials. It needs to be tested on larger volumes of people, then eventually stage 3 clinical trials where it's tested on larger numbers of people. Because the thing about a vaccine is, same as anything that's effective, it has potential. If it has potential to do good, it also has potential to do harm as well. So not only does the efficacy of a vaccine have to be there, we have to prove that this vaccine generates an immune response, that immune response reduces someone's chance of getting the disease. But we also have to prove that it's safe, otherwise we could go around doing more harm.
Right. So what kind of timelines?
So I was listening. There's a vaccine institute in Korea, something like International Vaccine Development Place in Korea, and I was listening to the head of that talk just the other day, American Korean guy, and what he was saying was, there could be potentially a vaccine this time next year. That is March 21.
Which would be the fastest in history.
That would be by far and away the fastest in history. And he said it could be validated in a few weeks and it could be mass produced within the month or two after that. So what that means is if we have the fastest vaccination development ever in the history of humanity, I could be injecting vaccines into people's arms next summer. I don't think it's going to be before that. So that means we're going to need all these other strategies until we get the vaccine. It's only when we get the vaccine that we're going to stop this. Now, the question is, what proportion of the world's population are going to get this infection before we get the vaccine? And that depends on our behavior. It depends on the strategies that we implement. It depends on this top-down social distancing and this bottom-up testing and isolating strategy. Until we get the vaccine, they're the only weapons we have. Now, we're still hopeful about therapeutics, but as of today, yesterday, the World Health Organization said there is no proven therapeutic for this virus at the moment.